So let's take a look at the new indictment that was just handed down against some of the insurrectionists, and then let's talk about who is ultimately and actually responsible for the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So a new conspiracy indictment of some of the insurrectionists was just handed down by the grand jury. This involves some defendants that are part of a group that call themselves the Oath Keepers. I want to read a few passages from this conspiracy indictment, and specifically I want to quote some of the words of the defendants themselves. And then let's talk about who is ultimately responsible for the January 6th attack on the Capitol, the attack on the Capitol police officers, the attack on the legislators, the attack on the staff, the interns, the folks who staff the cafeteria, the janitorial staff in the U.S. Capitol. Let's talk about who is actually responsible for all of that. But let's start with the conspiracy indictment that was just handed down by the grand jury. I have a copy of it here. And the named defendants are Thomas Caldwell, Donovan Crowell, Jessica Watkins, Sandra Parker, Benny Parker, Graydon Young, Laura Steele, Kelly Meggs, and Connie Meggs. And the charges include conspiracy, obstruction of official proceedings, destruction of government property, entering and remaining in a restricted building, tampering with documents or proceedings. And here is some of how the prosecutors set up this conspiracy. They say in paragraph 7, a large crowd began to gather outside the Capitol perimeter as the joint session of Congress got underway. Crowd members eventually forced their way through, up, and over Capitol Police barricades and advanced to the building's exterior facade. Capitol Police officers attempted to maintain order and stop the crowd from entering the Capitol building, to which the doors and windows were locked or otherwise secured. Nonetheless, shortly after 2 p.m., crowd members forced entry into the Capitol building by breaking windows, ramming open doors, and assaulting Capitol Police officers. Other crowd members encouraged and otherwise assisted the forced entry. In the course of these events, approximately 81 members of the Capitol Police and 58 members of the Metropolitan Police Department were assaulted. The Capitol suffered millions of dollars in damage. Additionally, many media members were assaulted and had cameras and other news gathering equipment destroyed. And then the indictment continues. The purpose of the conspiracy was to stop, delay, and hinder Congress's certification of the Electoral College vote. And now they start talking about what some of the conspirators themselves said and did. Conspirators used a walkie-talkie-like application and created a channel on it named Stop the Steal J6, January 6th. I wonder where they got the name Stop the Steal from. Stop the Steal J6 to develop plans and later communicate during the January 6th operation. One of the conspirators, Watkins, said, quote, I don't underestimate the resolve of the deep state. Biden may still yet be our president. If he is, our way of life as we know it is over. Our republic would be over. Then it is our duty as Americans to fight, kill, and die for our rights. If Biden gets the steal, none of us have a chance, in my mind. I wonder where the conspirator got those ideas. That, if Biden gets the steal, it's all over, right? Our way of life is over. Our republic is over. If Biden gets the steal, the indictment continues, quote, Trump said it's going to be wild. It's going to be wild. He wants us to make it wild. That's what he's saying. He called us all to the Capitol and wants us to make it wild. Sir, yes, sir. Gentlemen, we are heading to D.C. Pack your, quote, shit. I wonder where they got the idea that Donald Trump wants them to travel to D.C. on January 6th and make it wild. The indictment continues. Defendant Caldwell says, quote, I accept that assignment. I swore to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I did the former. I have done the latter peacefully, but they have morphed into pure evil, even blatantly rigging an election and paying off the political caste. We must smite them now and drive them down. I wonder where Defendant Caldwell got the idea that the election had been rigged. The indictment continues. On January 6, 2021, Defendant Caldwell sent Defendant Watkins a text message saying, "Where are you? Pence has punked out. We are screwed." Close quote. I wonder where the defendants, where the insurrectionists got the idea that Pence had punked out. The indictment continues. An individual directed, quote, "You are executing citizens' arrest. Arrest this assembly. We have probable cause for acts of treason and election fraud." I wonder where the defendants, where the insurrectionists got the idea that they had probable cause for acts of treason and acts of election fraud. That's just some of the lengthy conspiracy indictment that was just handed down by the grand jury. Now, folks, you know what these defendants, these so-called oath keepers, are going to argue in court? Let me preview it for you. They're going to say, wait a minute. I'm on trial, and all I did was listen to the President of the United States and his attorney and his son, because they said that my vote had been stolen from me. They said the election had been rigged. They said they took their president, my president, away from me, wrongfully, criminally. They're going to say, I was listening to guys like Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley. I was listening to guys like Gohmert and Gates and Graham and Jordan and Johnson. They all reinforced that the election had been stolen. It was rigged. It was fraudulent. I was just doing what my president told me to do, to get down to that building and stop the theft of my vote and our election. So that's one of the arguments the insurrectionists will make. It's not a winning argument. It's not a legal defense that they were motivated to commit these crimes based on, the big lie told by Donald Trump and Giuliani and Don Jr. and others. But here's the thing, and I don't want to sound unkind and I don't want to be condescending, but not everyone is good at or even able to assimilate information from multiple sources and reach rational, reasonable, fact-based conclusions. Frankly, Americans are entitled to listen to the president and his lawyer and elected politicians and reach conclusions based on what they hear, based on what they are told, even if what they're being told are a bunch of lies. But here's the bottom line. It turns out the insurrectionists were foot soldiers in Donald Trump's, nefarious army, in his criminal scheme. And should they be held accountable for the crimes they committed, even if motivated by a lie told to them by Donald Trump and others? Yes, they should. They must be held accountable for their crimes. But you don't just hold the foot soldiers accountable. You hold the general accountable, and the colonels, and the majors, and the captains, and the lieutenants. You hold Donald Trump accountable, and Rudy Giuliani, and Don Jr., and all of the politicians who promoted the big lie, who supported the big lie, and who, in a very real sense, motivated those defendants, those insurrectionists, to attack the Capitol on January 6th based on the big lie. Hold the foot soldiers accountable, but you've got to hold the officers accountable as well. Because justice matters.